When you picture Australia, what's the first thing that pops into your head? You've got the beautiful beaches, the Sydney Opera House, and, yeah, probably an entire continent just full of things that want to kill you. It's a reputation that's known all over the world. But today, we're going to dig in and find out how much of that is myth versus what's actually reality. So let's just get right to it. This is the question, right? It's the one that has launched 1,000 internet memes. And you know what? It's not a completely ridiculous question. I mean, on the surface, it really does look like Australia was designed by nature to be as dangerous as possible. But is that really the whole story? All right, before we jump into the hard data, let's just lean into the legend for a second. Because Australia is, without a doubt, home to a wild collection of animals that are, well, they're uniquely and seriously dangerous. So let's meet the all-star cast that built this terrifying reputation in the first place. I mean, just look at this list. It is almost ridiculous. You've got the venomous snakes and spiders, you've got sharks all over the coasts, gigantic crocodiles up north, and in the water, oh, just some of the most venomous jellyfish and stingrays on Earth. And we haven't even mentioned the world's most dangerous bird, the cassowary. It's an absolute murderer's row of wildlife. Okay, let's start with a number that is just, honestly, it's staggering. Of the 25 most venomous snakes on the entire planet, an insane 20 of them, 20, call Australia home. Just wrap your head around that for a second. That concentration of venom in one place is almost hard to believe. And no, it definitely doesn't stop with snakes. We see the exact same pattern when we look at spiders. So, around the globe, there are about 30 species of spider with venom that's considered truly dangerous. Nearly half of them, yep, you guessed it, they're hanging out in Australia.
So, with a lineup like that, you'd be forgiven for thinking Australia must be a terrifying place to live, right? And that's the setup. That's the myth. But here's where it gets interesting. Because the actual statistics, the numbers, they tell a completely different and way less scary story.
Okay, so let's get into the data. This is where the whole story really flips on its head. We're going to look at the official numbers on animal-related deaths to see what is actually the biggest threat down under. So here it is, the big picture. Over a full 15-year period, there were just over 500 deaths from all animal-related incidents combined. Now, of course, every single one of those is a tragedy, but for a country of more than 25 million people, that number is incredibly low. And wait till you hear what's causing them. So, if it isn't the snakes and the spiders and the sharks racking up the numbers, who are the real culprits? I can almost guarantee you the answer is not what you think. Let's unmask Australia's statistically most dangerous animals. And here you go. This is the reality. The animal responsible for the most human deaths in Australia is the horse. Not from attacks or anything like that, but mostly from people falling off and getting hurt. After horses, it's cattle. And then dogs. Yep, the animals we live and work alongside every single day. Okay, but what about the wild animals? Surely that's where the venomous creatures come in. Well, nope. The wild animal involved in the most deaths is the kangaroo. And again, it's not because they're going around boxing people. It's almost entirely because of car accidents. So this all leads to one big question. Why? I mean, why do all of these legendarily deadly creatures cause so few actual problems for people? Well, the answer has less to do with the animals themselves and everything to do with geography. It's all about where people are and, more importantly, where they aren't. See, this right here is the real key to the whole puzzle. A whopping 85% of Australia's entire population lives squeezed into coastal cities and towns. That huge, vast interior of the continent, where most of that scary wildlife lives, is almost empty of people. So it really just boils down to this simple separation. You've got humans clustered together in one type of environment, and you've got the most dangerous wildlife spread out across a totally different one. There's just not much overlap. And if there's no overlap, there's not much opportunity for things to go wrong. And this brings us right to the heart of it all. There is a massive difference between an animal that looks scary or sounds scary and an animal that is actually statistically dangerous to you. So let's put the real risk from those famous critters into perspective. Let's be really clear about this. Yes, Australia has the world's most venomous snakes, but a fatal bite is incredibly rare. The same is true for sharks and for crocodiles. These attacks make for really dramatic news headlines for sure, but in the grand scheme of things, they're just statistical noise. And now for the final nail in the coffin of the myth.
let's talk about spiders. Since effective antivenoms were developed and became widely available back in the late 1970s, how many people have died from a venomous spider bite, Australia? The answer is right there. A big, fat zero. Modern medicine has literally taken the deadliest spiders off the table.
So, Australia's whole reputation is built on some truly fearsome animals. But the reality, thanks to a combination of geography and modern medicine, is that the actual risk of being harmed by them is unbelievably low. Which kind of leaves us with a bigger question, doesn't it? How often in our own lives do we confuse something that feels like a fear with something that is an actual statistical risk?